Hey,
Beyond the Basement, the complete Attack on Titan podcast. I said it before you guys can even finish your sips.
Well,
I want to welcome all of y'all out there on the YouTubes and Facebook and all the various places. This is episode 63.
Yes.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Season 4, episode 4.
Season 4, episode 4, also known as From One Hand to Another. I'm one of your hosts. They call me the Eric.
I'm Peter.
I'm Rachel.
And together, we make up the world's greatest segue to our merchandise. So now that you're here, you might want to go into the link in the YouTube description or Facebook or whatever it is. If you're listening on audio, you can go to the description down below. We do have cool Attack on Titan merch that is not our own, but it's just general AOT merch. This stuff we're wearing right now if you're watching. So you can go buy some of that stuff, and then we have our own merch coming in hot and shortly. So go check that out as well. Also be linked in the description below. All right. With that, if you are not joining us live, you should be. I've had a couple of people in the YouTube comments. I've been trying to plug, hey, they leave great comments. I'm like, you got to tell us this stuff live. They'll correct us on something, which we need, but they'll tell us that, and then it's after the fact. So
I would say get as large a size as you can if you're going to buy these jackets, because
they're made for tiny humans.
They are made for normal size people who grow up in Asia.
Okay, all right, that's fair.
They're made for tiny humans.
Those people are honored, and we love them. But some people have larger frames and need to get larger sizes. So Eric's was a triple. Wait.
Mine's a triple XL, I think. Or maybe mine's a double and yours is a triple or something like that.
Yeah. They kind of vary. So I would check.
This is a triple XL.
This is a triple XL.
Yeah.
For the record, I'm 5'7" and 145 or something like
Normally,
that. This thing
medium.
fits me I thought I was gonna rip it the first time I got in.
Yeah.
It's adjusted.
I would recommend checking the size chart and the comments in each one of the things.
Yeah.
To make sure. But they got a great exchange policy.
They do. Okay, so yeah, join us live. Facebook on Sunday nights, usually around, 5 o'clock right now? Yeah, that's usually when we start streaming. And we will be reviewing the new episodes as they air every single week. Coming up this next week, we will not be doing any new episodes because there won't be one, if I'm not mistaken yet. Today's 27th. So January 4th, rather. There is no season 4 episode because in Japan apparently they're F Christmas, but New Year's, that's a big deal for them. So they're taking a 1 week break.
And if you're shocked that Isayama left us on such a big cliffhanger, you don't know Attack on Titan.
Yeah, exactly. Then you've not been paying attention. Also, that being said, we will still be here on Sunday nights. If you do want to come hang out with us and come join us live, we are still finishing up with season 3. We've got about another 4 or 5 episodes to do. So that's what we'll be doing next Sunday. So don't miss it. We'll be there. And then obviously once the new episodes come back online, we'll be doing that every week. Okay. With that said, let's do a quick recap of this week's episode of number 63.
From one hand to another.
Now, this one's hard to recap. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to do my best here. But this episode is a little incohesive by design, but nonetheless. So it starts out with Mr. Kruger, Freddy Kruger himself, who we very strongly believe to be Eren. We find out at the end of the episode is Eren. We starts out with him, and he's like, basically has Falco be his little male boy, which plays a role throughout the episode. Then we finally meet the Tybur family, and we discover they are what we thought they are. They're kind of this independent family. They're wealthy. They have their own guards. They're not Marleyan. They are Eldian. It turns out they're Eldian, and Lord Tybur, Willy, which has got to be the worst. Why Willy?
It's just not a name that strikes fear into the hearts of men.
No, he's such a great villain already, but he's not.
His name needs to be something more like Sephiroth.
Serious? That's what I'm saying.
Or who's the bad guy? Pegasus?
I'm just kidding.
No.
Yeah,
Pegasus
Willy's the guy from Duck Dynasty, the overweight dude with the hat. It's anyway. All right, so the Tybur family, we meet them. We fight him and General Magath have some backdoor kind of conversations, which obviously we'll go all the way into. And then we find out. Basically we find out that we kind of check in on the plan to invade Paradise. We get a little bit of detail on that. We see what's his face? Falco beat Gabby in a race, which is a big deal. And we talk a little bit more about the potential, the Gabby / Falco kind of conflict. And then finally, we get this really this is the crazy part of the episode. So we get this secret conversation between Kruger and secret conversation between Magath, getting everybody mixed up, Magath and what's his snot, Mr. Tybur.
Willy Tybur.
They are talking about doing demolition. They're talking about all kinds, the military changing hands, all kinds of behind the scenes stuff. And the episode then goes to this party scene where Lord Tybur announces he's going to do a theater, a play, a something, and in that play he's going to reveal his plan to make peace, have world peace with the Eldians somehow, which we think we know what that means. So then the episode finally ends with Zeke and kind of the Titan Shifter gang basically within Marley, and Falco is like, "Hey Reiner, come here. I have somebody want you to meet, or I want to show you something." And Reiner comes face to face with Eren. We knew it was Eren, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And Reiner comes face to face with them and is like, "Eren," and then to be continued. So #cliffhanger. Okay. That's your little recap, so you know what the heck is going on in case you're listening to this after the fact. Let's go into this first little cut. So I want a quick comment. This episode didn't have any recap or any wasted seconds at all. They had a lot of content to fit in here, which is why I'm confident that this is another episode, which we've had a couple of these in a row now. Not a ton of action, but a lot of intrigue. Not a ton of oh my gosh, well, there has been some, oh my gosh, but there's actually been quite a few of those. But I'm saying the intensity is in the building suspense and the building drama, which is why my theory is next episode, something's going to break out into the open.
Each episode seems like they keep wheeling powder kegs and just dropping them on the stage and walking away. And you're like, that's 6 powder kegs, and you got a little bit of TNT over there, and you got some oil right here. I don't like where this is going. I mean, I do. But
I do, but I'm also freaked out of my mind.
We were halfway this episode, and everything was unfolding, and we were like, tell me there's an hour left this episode, please.
3 minutes. We're like, come on! I knew as soon as he's like, oh, I'm going to announce my plan. I was like, next 2 weeks from now, you're announcing your plan? That's what you mean?
That's the worst.
Freaking A. Anyway. All right, so it starts out with Falco, and he's running out of the internment zone. And Reiner's like, where are you headed so late? What are you up to? He's like, oh, yeah, just left something at the HQ. I'll be back. Don't worry about me, basically. And then
he looks so happy, too.
He does.
He had a mission.
He looks elated. And then we check back in. Then we check back in with our long-haired, one-legged friend from last episode and last two episodes,
friend.
right?
One-legged, one-eyed.
Because didn't we meet him?
One-eyed, one-legged, flying, Attack on Titan shifter. All right.
So anyway.
So we catch it, and we hear Falco calling Mr. Kruger. Now, this is why I need y'all to come freaking, to the live thing, because I actually don't know the answer to this. I'm pretty sure there's another Kruger, last name Kruger, elsewhere in the show that we've already met. So no mega spoilers here, but I'm saying, isn't there somebody who's a Kruger?
I couldn't remember.
I swear I remember there being somebody in Paradise who had that last name.
Which is risky, because maybe all the Paradisians have Paradisian last names, or maybe they're all just common because they're all Eldians.
Right, that's what I think.
That's what you would hope.
It's like an Eldian last name.
What if, you're like, oh yeah, Smith. Kruger's the owl?
Oh, yeah.
I got it. I told you. Thank you.
Okay, duh.
Who was it, Paris? Or
Of
Menendez?
course.
Yeah.
Duh.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for starters.
Of course.
They said-
I feel like an idiot now. Dang it, I totally knew
What
that.
a risky last name, though, to go and be like, oh, yeah, by the way, I have the same last name as the dude who, they probably don't know, but who stole the Attack
he was a
Titan
very
power.
good secret spy. Nobody knew.
And what is he doing right now? He's spying. Eren's the new owl.
Eren's the new owl. Oh, and he has the Attack Titan even.
Titan
Oh
that
my
the owl
gosh,
had
and he's
secret.
pretending to, yeah, oh my gosh, dude, you're totally right.
Full freaking circle.
Dude,
Very
there's a
bold.
lot of those kind of things. Okay, this episode especially, but really all this whole season so far, I know it's on purpose, but Isayama has taken a ton of what was going on inside the walls, like the Eren story, kind of the pain and the struggle, and then translated, now we're seeing the same stuff happening, but it's in Marley instead.
It's almost like there's a theme, and the theme is war and suffering is bad no matter who does it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interessante.
So Falco's like, hey, I forgot something at the HQ. I got to run back. And you can see that the warriors get to go in and out of the internment zone, right? And Mr. Kruger,
That's why he was chosen by Kruger.
who's Eren, is like, hey, listen, I want to send a message to my family, but don't all the letters from the internment zone get checked, which means they're censored. They don't get freedom of speech. They don't get to tell people.
His cover story is for especially selling it to a kid is literally
Very well
perfect.
thought out.
Yeah.
It's bulletproof.
It's probably Armin's
Like, I don't want them to
doing.
know. Yeah, I don't want them to know that I'm here because they'll be like, oh, you're okay, and they'll get me in trouble. So can you send it outside the internment zone so it doesn't get checked?
He's probably communicating with the person who's outside the internment zone that we saw, who we're pretty sure is
That's
John.
what we think. We think he's sending intel back and forth
for
and
sure.
setting up a plan.
Comms are happening.
Yeah. Because otherwise he'd have to go do it himself, which means he'd have to regrow his leg and then get out
run
of
back
the
out
wall
there
and then
and
cut his
chop
leg
it
back
off.
off. That seems like a lot of work.
They never discuss how much pain you feel as a shifter, even though you can heal all that. It all comes back. Like Eren getting beat up by Levi in season 1.
Yeah.
Like that still
definitely
looks
hurt.
horrible.
Yeah, Levi put his boot in his mouth and stuff. And he's knocking out his teeth.
Eren is used to biting his own hand, so maybe he just went hog wild one time.
He just chopped his own leg off
I'm
and
doing it
stabbed
for
his
the
own
cause.
eye.
For the cause.
Cause.
So they say, yes, Mr. Kruger, I'll help you with your errand. So he runs out of the internment zone to go mail what we know is a secret spy letter.
Espionage, dude, correspondence. Yeah, and he tells him, it's I'm sending this to my family.
Sorry,
Hang on.
I just realized something. Keep going.
He says, I'm sending this to my family, and the reason I want the letter to be checked is because he's already confided in Falco that he's actually okay. He just doesn't want to, he basically doesn't want to go back to his family. He doesn't want anybody to know, he wants his family to know that he's okay, but he's just not ready to go. He's just not emotionally well. He could, and so he's kind of hiding that from the doctors and stuff and the people who are in the
He wants
hospital.
them to think he's mentally ill.
Yes. So here's the thing is he's already told that to Falco and confided him. So Falco has he's got all of his trust. It's gonna be a hell of an upset when he has to be like,
by the way, I'm the enemy.
Hey, I'm the guy with the
I'm from the island of devils that you all hate.
Hey, remember how you've been helping me out this whole time? Yeah. Totally fine.
I'm the devil.
Actually here to destroy your society. But at any rate.
Yeah.
So then it ends with him mailing it at the little red station. It's him dropping it off. That's the first cut. Okay.
I think it's just a stab at the USPS. You know?
Mm-hmm.
That they're all full of spies and so on.
Corrupt and just take forever. And I'm just kidding.
I know I've mentioned this before on the show, but I'm a fan of espionage themed stuff. I mean, whatever. I like any good spy story, true or fictional. I'm kind of into, and the fact that this show has has so much of that. The last half of season 3, so far in season 4, there's been so much intrigue and whatever double-sided
conversations.
Yeah, I freaking love it, dude. I'm eating this crap up.
Yeah, I think it's the opposite. We were talking about this. If you guys have seen the movie Maze Runner,
yeah,
we didn't read the books, so apparently the books are really way better. But we really liked the first movie.
They usually are.
The first movie was
specifically
very. It's very like Attack on Titan.
Yeah,
it's secretive and hidden. There's mystery, and you're trying to figure out what the secret is. And there's all this stuff that's happening. You try to put it all together, and then kind of in the end, you kind of figure out a little bit of what's happening, and they're we're going to open up even more the next movie. You're oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But they took it from a political intrigue adventure.
A lot of interpersonal drama and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, to a zombie movie.
Straight up.
Which
straight up zombie movie.
Which
so disappointing.
Don't get us wrong, we like zombie movies.
Sure.
But you can't go backwards. You don't want to devolve from the highbrow, secret intelligence,
it
things
was a
that are
very
going
original sounding story to a very not original
to zombie,
story.
Right? But this is doing the exact opposite. It's almost going from a zombie movie to even more of a spy.
Yeah.
More
the
intelligent.
The plot gets even thicker rather than.
So just a tip: if you're gonna go higher, go smarter, go more secretive, go more mystery.
Always. So speaking of mystery and secretiveness, in this next scene we meet the Tybur family. Finally, right? We've heard of them by the hearing of the ear. Now we're witnessing them. We know it's the family that holds the Warhammer Titan. And as soon as they get in there, I think it's Magath who's
Magath goes to visit.
Who goes to visit
to meet him.
And he shows up in
the head of the family.
They have the Imperial Guard around him,
and they're very tall.
That's why I said they're all. Note, they're all super tall. They're all wearing the red uniform, and they're not Marleyan soldiers. They mention that specifically. These are not Marleyan military. They're his own personal guard.
I would guess they're not Eldian either.
I don't think they are. I think there's some weird.
Otherwise, they could be corrupted.
I think there's. Because they're all super tall, I think there's some kind of other race.
They're Norsemen, or they're Samoan.
Yeah, remember?
They're like the 6-foot Irishmen that used to walk the streets of New York back in the day.
Didn't I say this? I said okay, I've made this joke multiple times, but like one of them was Attack on Titan is the prequel to Hunger Games.
Yeah.
And then the other one is that Attack on Titan is actually what am I trying to say? It's the sequel. It happens in the Star Wars universe. It's a I've had like lots of them, but my current one is that Attack on Titan is actually the distant sequel to the Elder Scrolls. It's actually Skyrim, but just fast forward.
Okay.
That's why there's all these different races. There's actually elves and high elves and see the giants and anyway.
And Eren's gonna wake up one day and he's gonna be on a cart with his hand tied behind his back and we've
exactly.
been waiting for you to wake
We've
up.
been waiting for you. Yeah, exactly.
Took an arrow to the knee. So the Tybur family's there. They got the personal guard. And we see Magath, and he is surprised that they're all there. He goes in. He's admitted by their own personal guard, and is like, "Wow, they're like way more guarded than the High General or Commander Corvo or whatever his name is, right?"
Mm-hmm.
So they go in, and it's a whole family. His whole family's there.
Sounds like chaos.
We
going
meet
on.
Lord Tybur himself. The dude looks like Sephiroth.
Willy Tybur and
He introduces himself as the head of the Tybur family.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you got like a bunch of there's old people, there's young people, there's kids.
Lots of kids.
And they begin to talk, and Magath is there, and they kind of go out to the balcony after kind of like a little bit of a jovial conversation, and then they start throwing down some darts. They start shooting some really secretive.
Well, he starts out. Doesn't Tybur start out with, "Can you sense it since you're a seasoned soldier? Do you know who?
Yeah,
which one among us has the warhammer?"
He actually mentions this, so this is good information. He actually says you've been in charge of the warrior unit since its inception, like since it began, which tells us, which we kind of found that out last episode as well, that the idea of quote the warrior unit within Marley is recent-ish, meaning it's not like thousands or hundreds of years; it's more like decades.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, continue.
Well, anyway, he asks him if he can tell who has it. And then Magath says, "I'm not even sure if it's here."
Yeah.
And he says,
"Oh, it's here.
It's here."
Which
it's among us.
We're all fairly confident that it's him. I mean, who else? He's like the most bad dude in the whole scene. Like,
are you gonna have a grandma hop off the couch? Maybe, I don't know.
It could. Honestly, it's Tsuyama. He could pull a card out of.
He could pull a twisty thing, but like you're thinking, this is the boss. This guy feels like the boss.
He certainly does. Because didn't you say this? We were talking about this before. How we hadn't met the final boss yet. This is the final boss.
The one that comes with the royal guards and the whole family, and he's kind of like he's everything. He's the devil.
He's charismatic and he has influential friends. And
he's the Antichrist.
Everybody refers to him as the kin of our savior.
The kin of our savior. Exactly. I'm telling you, he's an Antichrist figure. Like
he's also like the secret. Yeah.
So they're on the balcony and they begin to casually discuss. And it took us a minute to be like, oh, wait a second, they're talking about a lot deeper things than we think they're talking about. So first. Willy Tybur,
Helos thing.
He looks down at the statue. It's the statue that we saw in the season 4 trailer, and we knew it was going to be important. We thought it was one of the first Titans being slain, which
apparently
confirmed.
It was. Yeah, it happened during the Great Titan War.
And he says, the statue of Helos, the great hero.
He came here just to see this.
He was the one who threw down the devil, and killed him.
And we basically discover, actually mentions this in one of the little cut in between scenes, like public disclosure scenes or whatever. It says in there that the Tybur family and Helos worked together to win the Great Titan War.
Yeah. So Helos is there and it's a statue, and he says, the great that's the spirit of Marley. And Magath fires back and he says, yeah, just like the spirit of Marley, it's dead inside.
Yeah, it's empty.
Yeah, they're talking about how the statues are hollow inside and dead and cold and like don't mean anything really.
And he starts straight spit a dart. Like he's being really direct here.
Okay, I'm sorry, but that line like opens it like we're peeling back the layers of like what Marley is, and at first you think it's this like very unified society, and you think everybody's on the same page, and then in this season we're realizing no, it's utterly fractured, like across the board, specifically within the warrior unit, within the Eldians, within the new recruits. Everybody's got their own ideas. Magath has got his own idea. The Tybur family, they've all got their own ideas of what Marley is and what it should be and where it's going and war. Like everybody's on different pages. And like this basically says it all. Because the one guy you would think would be like the most utter loyal, which you still figure he is. I still think that that's the case.
Magath.
But even he has shade to throw at his own society and is like empty inside.
Well, I think this proves him as a true, if you're really loyal to your country,
You're honest.
You don't cover its bad parts. You talk about them openly and how you want to change them and you want to make them better.
Well, I don't think he's talking about them openly. I think he's talking about them in secret with Justice Day. I don't think he would say that
he's
publicly.
talking about them to somebody who can do something about them.
Yeah.
And so he's not trying to cover up, oh, yeah, Marley's perfect. We've never done anything wrong. He's like, no, we've done bad things. But there's hope for us, and we can rebuild.
There's hope for you, Private.
Glorious combat.
For the form of glorious combat.
So we need to change things around, is what he's saying, right? Marley is like a shell of what it used to be. The spirit is like empty on the inside. And this brings Willy to like, he kind of laughs it off. Oh, you don't pull any punches, you know? So I heard that you're the one who's interested in, renewing the Marleyan conscriptions.
Yeah. So up to this point, it sounds as though Marley has not used Marleyan citizens to go to war whatsoever. They've been living in peace and comfort in the interior. The only thing they know of war is what they hear in the papers. And so they've used the Eldians to fight as their soldiers to go fight their wars for them. Not only because they're Titans, but literally as like foot soldiers and as pure Titans and the whole gamut. Like that's what they do is they send them to their deaths to fight on their behalf. And so his theory is that Marley essentially has, to summarize what I think he's saying, is that Marley has a kind of a lust for war and for like. They hear we've conquered more enemies, we've conquered more lands, and we subjected them. And in the process, we killed off some of those Eldian devils on our own side. These are all, to them, those are all positive things. And so they kind of have this like lust for, and they're warmongers, right? They continue to like start wars to like fight and expand because they can and because they don't pay any real price for it. Yeah. And so his theory is maybe if we get real Marleyan soldiers out there and they got bullets whizzing by their heads, they won't be so gung-ho to go out to war.
Yeah, it's really easy for a bunch of people sitting around, in comfy offices with heat and air conditioning and food aplenty to be like, yeah, let's send these guys to war because you don't have to go do it, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to send other people to do hard things. It's hard to send yourself or do it yourself.
Shut down society for like 9 months at a time. Just like you can't do it. Sorry.
It's
anyway.
easy. It's easy to make, hard decisions for other people. Because you're really objective. Because
when you're not going to suffer for it.
You're not going to suffer, right?
Yeah, I'll just make them do it.
But it's hard when you have to put yourself in their shoes and be like, okay, wait a second. I actually love our country. I love the people in our country. And so he's saying, look, if it's Marleyans that are hearing the bullets whiz over their head, maybe that will stop their lust for war so much. Maybe they'll revere what war really is and how terrible it is, and they'll be more hesitant to plunge themselves into it. And this is kind of what you can see in America in World War II. Why was America so late to the war? It's because the whole country was so against.
Insulated. We were insulated from the war itself, the effects of it, and because we were not interested in getting involved in other people's business.
We had just fought a war. The country was so against sending their sons off to go die on foreign soil for somebody else's deal. Mm-hmm. We were like, no, like we know what it means, right? And so they were very careful before they went to war. Some say a little bit too much, right? But finally, when they decided, like, look, we have to do this, like Pearl Harbor was the last strike, right? That was why it was like the greatest mistake, because hypothetically it awoken the sleeping giant, right? Like maybe America would have never gotten to the war until it was too late and all the forces of the world were against America. But instead, the way things shook up, America got involved and finally got pushed over the edge. Well, Magath is saying that Marley needs to think more carefully about all the endless wars because the price is too much, the price is too high, and he's been a general. He's seen war for so long.
Yeah, and in doing so, he paints himself as, this is kind of the plot I've been trying to like suss out in this episode so far, is he paints himself as one of the many different, like I said, kind of fractures within Marley. And here's the thing: is it seems like right now everybody has a power grab in mind. We have assumed that Zeke wants the power of the Founding Titan for himself, that he's kind of his own rogue force. We assume Reiner is, I don't know if Reiner's quite in the power grab category, but he has his own interests.
Yeah.
He's trying to protect Gabby, his cousin. He's trying to do something for Falco, so you kind of have that whole like storyline there. You've got Magath, who has his own kind of separate interests, even from what's the main dude, the president dude of Marley?
Corvo,
or whatever his name. And then you have, right? And then now you have Lord Tybur, another kind of power grab, who's got his own plans that he's about to announce, and he probably is in the best position to like exert some of that power. And so it's like, it's interesting because it's not just two parties anymore. It's not just this interest and this interest over here.
It's not just good or evil.
Now we've got like 5 or 6 different kind of like plots, all sort of 5 or 6 different characters with an intent to grab power, all unfolding at roughly the same time, and all kind of in relationship with each other even. And so I'm really curious how it all shakes down.
Yeah, he says to he says to Willy Tybur, Magath does, he says, yeah, this is kind of how I feel. And if somebody was controlling Marley from the shadows, I would tell them it's too late. Like, okay, pal, you're being really direct there. Okay.
Passive aggressive.
Subtlety, doesn't know anything about it. All right. So Lord Tybur lastly says, yes, it's true. The Tyburs control this region. Right. And he says, Marley chose this path of warmongering on its own, though the Tyburs gave the Marleyans power and freedom in hopes of atonement. In the end, Eldia and Marley were thrown into darkness, and the Tyburs are responsible. So he says, basically, there's this constant struggle, and I intend to reveal this truth to the world at the festival. Marley is in need of a hero once more, and the camera pans over to Helos, and he says, will you not join hands with me, Magath? And he kind of extends his hand, and this is kind of like, it seems like the shadow of what happened long ago. We know that the Eldians were the Eldians, and the Marleyans were the Marleyans, and the Marleyans were fighting against the Eldians back in the day, and it seemed like, in a power grab, the Tyburs sided against their own people and sided with the Marleyans to see if they could gain power. And obviously, they're in power, so things are...
Yeah. There's so much kind of like generational, like hand-me-down like conflict here, which is true in human history as well, in real life as well. So it's not that surprised, but there's just like a ton of that. And this whole like, the Tyburs are kind of like this, the forces, they're like, every conspiracy theorist like wants there to be a Tybur family, and in this world there actually is one. There's like a secret family that's like wealthy and powerful and pulls all the strings. Like,
and he's charismatic, got long blonde hair.
Yeah.
I was saying earlier that the Tyburs are like the Rice family. They're like ruling in secret.
Yes, it is exactly. I think it's exactly
the
right.
same thing.
The parallels again. This is one of those major sort of parallels between what was in Paradise and what's in Marley. Is this idea that there's literally a family with a powerful titan that they like possess within their family, and they call the shots, and that people don't really know that they're the ones who are really like kind of in charge. They're like a shadow ruler.
And look at the Tyburs. They live in the lap of luxury,
just like the interior,
and everybody else is oppressed, right?
Just like it is in the walls.
Exactly. Inside the walls, you've got these ruling class, these elites who are all in charge, and they rule in luxury. While you got people living in the underground, dying and starving, and it's like, okay,
getting their memories wiped, and being controlled, and
being subject and being trapped in the
walls. If anybody steps out of line, they have an unfortunate accident.
And here you have the words of Uri, who said, I was so foolish to think I could create a utopia inside the walls.
Yeah.
Which just ended up being just like it was.
Yeah, exactly. The two societies kind of have so many similarities.
It's kind of crazy to me, though, that the Tyburs are Eldian.
Yeah.
And they rule the Marleyans, and the Marleyans mistreat the Eldians. Like, it's this weird...
But they're immune to it for some reason. They're like, those bad
all
people.
All the Marleyans love and adore them, but they hate all other Eldians. Like, what in the actual heck is going on in this dang world?
They've paid their atonement, right? But it's like, okay, so what about all the
But what about all of their people?
Yeah, who have paid atonement
there too?
I mean, this is it's devil speak. Like this, that's what they're trying to say. I think this is a society, not just a society, but the entire world. At that party, you see people from all over the world. They all hate the Eldians. They all have them in internment zones.
But
they all treat them like trash. Exactly. But I'm saying is like
who are Eldian? It makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. But when you're a hypocrite, no, seriously, when you're a moral hypocrite, that's what you do. That's what you do. That's what it is infuriating. But this is the double talk and the like speaking like these people are good, but these people are bad. These people are saying the same thing as these people, but when these people say it, it's good. When these people say it, it's bad. That is how you know, like a morally inconsistent like tyrant. That's how you know somebody who's behaving wickedly when you see one. Is when somebody can have that kind of like open hypocrisy and just get away with it and say nope. That's just how it is. And
there's no moral standard. There's no objective truth they hold to. Yeah. There's no like line you can say, okay, this is wrong and this is right. They kind of just go wherever fits them at the
whatever's
time.
Convenient for them. Whoever they like is good. Whoever they don't like is bad. And it doesn't matter, there's no like actual standard for like righteousness. It's just whatever's convenient in the moment.
And it goes back to Annie. Annie's like, freaking Eldians, Marleyans, they're all the same. Like I hate them all.
Yeah,
like,
they're all
I understand that.
Good on you, Annie. You called them out.
Which
man.
we have a suspicion that she's not
related
a Tybur.
To the Tyburs.
At least as far as her last name, she's Leonhardt or whatever.
Maybe she changed her last name.
Sure.
Or maybe she worked for them.
We think that the only scene which we see Annie in that was outside the walls, she's definitely not in internment zone. So maybe she's in warrior training or something like that. But her dad is there, and he's like wanting to be with her, and he's.
I want to go back and rewatch just those scenes.
But it sure looks to us like she's got some sort of relation to the Tyburs.
Interesting that she's blonde. And
yes,
they're blonde.
The Tyburs seem to be many of them are very blonde as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next cut here is a kind of a quick scene, which I have to quick comment on this. So we actually see Pieck on all fours crawling around like just a goof, and like because apparently that's what she does for 2 to 4 months at a time.
It feels more natural to her to crawl around.
It's just so weird. My comment is in the trailer we saw her. He goes, "Oh my gosh, that's like a Mikasa, but it's like something's wrong." And I was like, "That's not Mikasa. That's some other weird." And I was right. Okay, it wasn't Mikasa. This is some weirdo.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is where they pull out the map of she runs into Porco, and then anyway,
now we get to this out of him, and he's like, "Just walk upright, you weirdo."
Now we get to this. They show a map of paradise, which we hadn't seen before, and they're like, "Here's an island, and here's Reiner," and he's saying, "Okay, from the south, like we can't really go there because." I can't remember what his reasonings was.
Well, he says
he just has a reason for why each direction is like not a great attack.
Yeah, he says the north will have the least resistance. So like, should we attack from the north? He's like, but also we could go in the south because we'll have the most ability to get our ships in there. Mm-hmm. So we should go from the south.
Because he had large ships or the wharf or whatever. He's like, but the wharf could be destroyed.
Yeah.
This is where we keep losing all of our ships.
Yeah, and so he's like, well, maybe we shouldn't go there. And the guy's like, so should never let an Eldian talk. And you're like, God. You're that kid in class who asked me for my opinion, and I'm trying to explain to you my like complex thoughts, and you're like, oh, so you can't even tell me? Like, no, you just don't know how to listen, you freaking idiot. Okay,
just shh.
Partially, I think maybe Reiner was just trying to like kind of throw him off a little bit. But also maybe he's just trying to like explain every little bit of detail.
Like, here are your options, and here are all the pitfalls with each of those options, which is very good advice.
That's called strategy.
Then you can count the cost and figure out what your best option is, where you will have the least amount of things you could possibly lose.
Yeah, no, I think that's. I think that Reiner. Okay, just to get into his head for a second here, I think that Reiner is tired. I think that they're kind of trying to show that because he's very aloof. He doesn't speak all that much. When he does speak, like he's still wounded from the craziness that went on, when he in Paradise, he's still messed up from coming back to this society, and he's just a war machine.
He's depressed.
He's literally just a tool, an instrument of war for the sake of the Marleyans. It's all he is. It's all he has been.
And very few people actually care about him or care for him.
Seems like the only thing he cares about is those kids.
So what I'm trying to say is he's so far down the dumps, like he's so far down the kind of drain of indifference, is that he almost took his own life. He has very little hope left in his heart.
Yeah.
What he does have exactly is those kids. He's like, well, I still have them. They're the one thing that actually kept him from taking his own life. So he's not somebody who has an intense interest one way or the other, right? Yeah. He's not fighting for something in particular. He's just counting down the clock till the day he's dead and hands over the power. And like, he has some interests. Like he wants Falco. He doesn't want to save Gabby. Like he has interest in these kids and kind of like helping them out. But like that's why I think that he's going to turn. That's why I think Eren has to kind of like turn the guy back on, is because he has to give him some kind of hope because he doesn't have any. So in a scene like this where he's telling him all this information, I think he's literally just telling him all the information, is like, because he says as much. He's like, I wasn't trying to convince you one way or the other. I'm just
giving you the intel that I have.
This is what the information that I know.
Yeah.
And they're like, I mean, this kind of just goes to show to me. This goes to show that there's no difference between Eldians and Marleyans. There's no difference between any race or any color, any creed. As far as intelligence goes, it's just about like what your biases are. And these Marleyans have been told that Eldians are stupid their whole life and they're the devils or whatever. And so he's just like, oh, these stupid Eldians. And it's like, dude, you're not even objective enough to take the time to observe when someone's giving you good intel. All you do is you see through your limited lens, and that like really frustrates me when people do that.
Yeah.
Here we got a guy just being racist, like because he was taught to be racist, and he's not thinking anything else.
This is the hypocrisy I was just talking about, but in the other direction, where like one person says something, you're like, oh, I like this guy, therefore what he's saying is true and good, and everything. You just have to listen to everything he says.
Yeah.
Then you have another guy who actually says something true and good, and you just think, well, it came from your mouth, and I hate you, so therefore
it must be bad.
It must
it's stupid.
Yeah.
Crap.
So they get out on the porch. The warriors, Titan shifters, they can get out on the porch, and they're like, oh.
Isn't it Galliard that's like, I can't wait to hear what these so smart
brass. They're so intelligent. Yeah.
And then how do you say her name? Pieck?
Pieck.
She's like,
whatever. Like
sending 4 children in, or pinning it all on 4 children.
Yeah, which this keeps coming up
and then
too.
You look down at the 4 of them.
in this season, this idea of sending in kids to go do war has been brought up multiple times, which we don't know the exact mission. They haven't said specifically with these recruits. We know they're competing for the Armored Titan, and we know one of them, Colt's already picked out for the Beast Titan, but are the rest of these recruits going to inherit the Jaw and Cart? They haven't made that clear.
Yeah,
they kind of keep them. It seems to me like they train them and they keep them on staff, so to speak, until a vacancy is made.
Which makes sense to give special training.
So they have somebody ready to take it.
I think they have somebody ready to take. I agree with that.
That's why Galliard said to Reiner, you'll have 13 years until it'll be your turn again. When he was a kid, when he was 12, and then he ended up getting the power.
Yeah, but the way they made it sound, at least in the previous episodes, is that they do hand all the powers over at approximately the same time.
Well, yeah, so they're not going to redo the Jaw Titan because they just did that. Right. But they are going to probably do the Cart, the Beast, the Armored Titan, and...
Because Reiner's got about 3 years left, and Pieck has about 3 years left, it sounds like.
Yeah, we think they're all about the same.
At the same time.
They don't have Bertholdt's power to give over. They don't have Annie's power to give over.
Right, so they've really just... Yeah, so they had 7 of the 9, now they're down 2, they're down to 5, yeah. They have a smaller group. Okay, well, at any rate, so they witness Falco beat Gabby in a race, and they're like, oh, he'll never overtake her. He won't be the more likely candidate. And Reiner's kind of there like watching like, no, maybe he will, actually.
He did it. Yeah, he pushed through.
Maybe this could work. And so then we cut back to the kids, and the kids are heading back to the internment zone, and there's these guards. It's just a really weird moment, and these guards are like friendly to them for some reason.
Yeah.
I just want to say I love how much Gabby's like, she's so fragile that she can't handle losing one simple race.
She definitely has the biggest ego.
I really hope that like they show us some reason that we're gonna like her. Like maybe she gets flipped. I do not like
her right now.
Because I can't stand her face. I'm like, I kind of hope that you continue your like weird hatred and just get stomped out, but also I kind of hope you do get flipped and learn and
turn into a better
person.
Where
she's like, I'm brilliant and cute as a button. I'm perfect. And I'm like, I'm going to throw up.
Yeah.
So they kind of have this weird thing with the guards, and they're like, they're telling the story like, oh, Falco beat Gabby in a race. It's never happened before. And he's like, well, the guard's like, oh, well, maybe you will get the Armored Titan, like they have play the kind of guitar music, and it's a weird scene, to be perfectly honest.
It is.
And so she's like,
she like punches him or headbutts him or something.
Yeah, and she's big mad. She's like, no, it's too late. Like, I'm definitely going to inherit the Armored Titan.
How
like,
dare
why
you actually try to compete against me now? It's too late.
How dare you even try to even compete against me? That too, gosh, that's another sign of true weakness. Like this, the hypocrisy thing we were just talking about, that's a sign of like tyranny and weakness. This is another one. This is a sign of true weakness. When somebody is mad that you are competing with them on level ground, like fairly, that you're actually outmaneuvering them fairly, and they have to accuse you of having bad intentions or of cheating, that's how you know they're on the losing side, and they are fragile and weak, and where it counts the most in their ego.
Yeah. It's funny because she says...
I love Falco, though, let me tell you. I think that guy's great.
They're like, okay, just because you beat, Gabby one time, they're like, oh, Falco beat Gabby.
Say that? Like, you'll never be able to surpass me at this point.
Well, they say Falco beat Gabby, and they're like, oh, in grades? They're like, no, just in one single race one time. But they're like, oh, okay, well, that's good. Keep working. And she's like, you'll never be able to surpass me. Like, it's too late, basically. And he says, well, they haven't decided. They haven't officially announced who's going to get the armor yet. So until then, I'm going to keep doing everything I can. And I'm like, I love that outlook, bro. So many people are so stuck on like, oh, it's probably too late to do this. It's 2020. It's the last few days. It's too late to do anything important.
Yeah, I'm 30 years old. I can't start a business. I'm whatever. Yeah,
it's people like, no. The future's not set yet, you guys. Keep fighting. Keep doing everything you can until like the last straw. You keep tapping. Keep going. Keep moving. Keep trying, because the future's not set yet. They haven't announced what's going to happen in 2021. The headline's not printed.
Hope.
There's still hope. Keep going.
Yeah. Well, shoot. Still a few days left in the year. We can do stuff this year.
So Paris and Manindapal are like on the Gabby gang. And so I think
that's fine. But
I think maybe they know something we don't know, or they need the same therapy that most of our characters need.
Either they're completely nuts, or they know things. Okay.
Isn't this when she's like, why are you even trying right now? It's pointless or whatever.
Yeah.
Why are you trying so hard?
Yeah.
And he says, I'm doing it for you.
And then the guards are like, oh my gosh, he actually
said it. Yeah.
Like, wow. They're like.
And he's like blushing. He's like, it's like one of the only anime moments that this show really has where he like blushes in his cheeks and he goes, I'm doing it for you.
This whole scene feels like out of a sitcom. It feels like they're all at like a coffee shop, and like this is the normal characters, and they're all having like and the audience laughs, and like everything happens.
I just love how the guards are like giving commentary while the kids are oblivious to their existence almost.
Yeah. All of the things that are supposed to be said quiet are said out loud.
Oh yeah, Gabby's like, how is any of this for me? And the guards are like, wow, she's really dense.
Yeah, she doesn't get it. And we actually said she's pulling an Eren right now, where Mikasa's like, I have undying love for you, and he's like, you're like my sister.
I'll put a scarf on you for the rest of your life. What does that even freaking mean, Eren?
Everybody in the show.
He misses her feelings like for him. He's like, oh, quit being a smothery like big sister punk, and she's like, no, I love you. And here's Falco like, I'm gonna take the armor away from you because even though you want it, it's not good for you. You're gonna die in 13 years.
Yeah, I want you to live, and I
she's
secretly
like,
love you.
But I want it.
But I want it. So yeah, she gets big mad. She goes, that makes no damn sense. Anyway, then we get this like another little cut. There's a bunch of weird stuff like this in this episode where like they're like, welcome back, little warriors, and there's this weird drunk guy leaning on like Zofia, and he's like, oh, so proud of you.
Gabby.
And then she's like, I'm not Gabby, I'm Zofia.
Yeah, so we see
his
basically
wife like kicks his butt, or I don't know if it's his wife.
Some
lady.
I think
it's
just
not
a
his
lady
wife.
operating a shop
she's like,
there.
go back to your mother, you drunk idiot.
But they get special privileges because they're warriors. Everyone's really proud of them because they're so brainwashed by the society that these guys are going to be the ones to help show that Eldians are not just devils, and those terrible devils on the island are evil and wicked. So here's some bread. Here's some. They get some. They get some
snacks.
What's the concessions?
Some concessions, yeah.
Some concessions. And don't get me wrong, like I'll pretty much do anything for some free snacks. So
it's true.
100%. Okay, so then we get to this.
Is this where they're all talking and they're overlooking the?
Yeah, they're at this big stage. There's a bunch of
pews
pews set up.
I was gonna say amphitheater, but I wasn't sure if that's the right.
Yeah, Zofia says it kind of reminds me of the theater, and it is actually. So
yeah, well, it is a theater, and she basically lays out a plan that they need to impress the VIPs. That they understand what this thing is for. They do know that the Tyburs. I think they know something about the Tyburs being there. And they understand that this is kind of like a communicating something to the rest of the world. And so she says, listen, we have to make a plan to prove that we're not devils. So smile, do all the right stuff, basically. And then, of course, they're like, oh, I think there is a devil around here. Like, I think it might actually be you, you little punk.
And she's like, how dare you guys ever root for anybody else but me? And they're like, okay, friend, you need to freaking cool your jets, right?
Oh, yeah. She's like, if you ever congratulate him again, I'm going to make you cry. She's like bending them over backwards. You are a devil.
So then it cuts over and they're like, oh, look, so there's some of the leaders. Here's some of the top brass right over there. I think they even mentioned General Magath is there.
Oh, yeah, because he's sitting there with what's his name.
And he's sitting over there with Lord
Willy
Tybur, with Willy.
Just before that, one of the things Gabby says is the reason that we want to become warriors is to show them that we're not all devils.
Yeah.
That's the whole motivation, right? And yeah, the messed up part is that no one should you shouldn't have to go around proving to everybody that you're not a terribly wicked person. Like,
no one can assume the best about you.
That your blood cries out to like murder and pillage. Like, no, like that should be a standard human right that no one has to like go out of your way to
seriously
prove yourself. So it's a terrible situation.
So we get into this little conversation with Willy and I can't call him Willy. Lord Tybur it is.
Lord Tybur
and Magath, and they're having this conversation.
Having another veiled, interesting
and he's
conversation.
like, there'll be some large scale. The whole time. He says,
this to me feels exactly like early season 1.
Yeah.
When everyone's talking, but you don't have enough context to put it all together to know.
I have some ideas about some of the things they're saying, but I'm going to keep most of that to myself for now.
Well, no, share away. There's no spoiler section here after all, so we can say what our theories are.
Unless it's a spoiler that you've read online.
Okay, listen.
All right, so
we're looking for a third host.
It's 2/3 of our group is really committed to this whole no spoiler thing.
It's not that, actually. It's not that.
Okay.
But it is that.
No. I only know like 2 things, and we haven't even touched on either of them yet. So don't worry about that. And it was an accident. It's Google's fault.
It's not good. Okay, well, at any rate. All right. So they talk about having some large-scale demolition is going to be required. And then he says
that.
He's like pointing to the stage, and you're like, oh, they're talking about the building. You're like, oh, they're not talking about
I think they're talking about the government.
Yeah.
I think they're talking about what's about to freaking happen. I think at the theater, the announcement thing, there's either going to be a bomb. Like, I think, okay,
yeah.
here's my guess. Here's my guess. Willy gets up there. God, Lord Tybur gets up there. He says the real threat, like as we heard from the trailer with our theory, is that he gets up there, and as it is in the trailer, he's like, listen, the power of the Titans is, one of the powers of the Titans was stolen from us, and his name is Eren Yeager, and our plan is to go and get him and blah, blah, blah. And the Eldians are the true devils, and we need to wipe them out once and for all. And you need our help to do that. I think that's kind of like more or less his plan. In the midst of doing that, he plants a bomb that kills a bunch of these world leaders and VIPs and blames it on the Eldians. He frames them.
I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen.
It's some kind of international conflict sort of like breaks out right here, but it's all a grab for power because secretly he wants to be the founding Titan or something thereabouts. Some plot like that. That's my guess.
We'll see.
So
I've got some other theories, but let's go to the text real quick.
Okay, so he says the large-scale demo is required. Then he says to Magath, he says, the military is yours. Congratulations, it's yours. He's like, well, it's mine, but the military serves you. So it's kind of all still yours.
It's just one hand.
Yeah, from just one hand to the other, really, is what that is. And he says, what's his name? Tybur replies and is like, has this kind of weird response. And he's like, listen, I'm just the one with the wheel. I kind of just ended up with this power.
This part's weird.
This is just the situation I'm in. I am the one with the, I have to make this decision right now. Like, it's just up to me, and this is where I've been put, and so I'm going to do it. And then he says, they kind of go back and forth about, Magath says, the house is unstable, but some of the pillars in it are still usable.
So they're talking about government leaders, I think.
We think.
Or people in the military, potentially.
And then they start talking about how, well, reports are that the house is actually infested with rats.
So they're spies.
And then what was the line I was questioning? I don't have it written down because I was moving too fast. He was saying something about...
What was it?
There was a line in here, and I was like, who is he talking about? He's like, according to who? Like, there's going to be rats.
According to them. He just says them.
They say
the house is infested with rats, but we don't know who they are.
We don't know yet. All right, so the whole thing's veiled.
His spies.
What's
your
theory?
So yeah, that was what we had talked about earlier, was the fact that later on in this episode, at the dinner with all the VIPs, everybody's around the world, and they make a few mentions earlier on about how there's internment zones. We know Udo, right? Udo?
I think his name is Udo, the guy with the glasses.
Yeah,
the slightly darker skin than the rest of them. He
came from an internment zone outside of Marley, so they've got freaking slave camps.
But he's an Eldian.
All over the world. And the Eldians are universally hated by everyone all over the world, even the people that, Middle East Alliance or whatever it is. They're just hated by everyone all over the world. Now, a lot of people also hate Marley because Marley's used the Eldians to wield power. And Tybur says this at the VIP speech. He says, the Eldians, wielded this wicked power, and Marley rose up, and Marley used to be the ones getting oppressed. Now Marley has used the Eldians' power to oppress others, and this vicious cycle has happened. They fell into the same trap, right? And everyone's like, yeah, we're freaking mad that you've been murdering us with these giant powers and oppressing us. And it's like, two wrongs don't make it right. You can't be a terrible oppressor, and then you can't oppress a terrible oppressor and think that you're in the right. You know?
It doesn't work that way.
We want justice. We don't just want to repeat the same sins.
You can't be enslaved and then, or oppressed in some way, turn around and then enslave the people who used to enslave you, or enslave their sons, and then call it justified. It doesn't work like that.
If it's wrong once, it's wrong every single time. Yeah. So we got to set the record straight. So he's saying, look, everyone's mad at Marley because they've used these terrible powers to kind of oppress the world. Everyone hates the Eldians, but I've got a solution that's going to solve it all. A solution that's going to really bring world peace, And you're like, let me guess, the solution isn't like loving your neighbor. It's not like working really hard in your own country.
He ain't the Pope. He's not going to be like, peace,
it's not like
for your neighbor.
Taking personal responsibility and like, owning the wrongs that you've done in the past. No, it's like somebody else. They're the bad guys. And if we all focus on the same bad guys, so my guess is he's going to universally say, here's what happened. There's one devil that's left. His name is Eren Yeager. And he is responsible for all of the bad things that have always happened to any of you guys. And he's the reason that we had to go to war. He's the reason. He's going to basically drum up this really terrible racist speech about how it's all one, racist problem. And everyone has to hate this race, but not just this race in general. No, if we can go and we can kill the Eldians inside of Paradise, and we can kill and take back the Founding Titan power, then all the sins of the Eldians who are on Marley will be forgiven. And I think he's going to use that ploy to literally turn every single person who's not on the Island of Paradise against the Island of Paradise. And so it's literally going to be the world versus like Eren and the gang. And I think that's what he's going to try to do in order to stave off any help that Eren would get from any Eldians around on Marley who are oppressed. Because think about it. All we have to do is just take this one man into custody and all of our sins will be forgiven. We'll be treated as normals again or something along those lines. I don't think he's going to say we need to wipe out all Eldians because he is Eldian. So I think he's going to point the giant finger at just the Paradisians.
Eldians that are on Paradise.
Yeah, just those people.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to say specifically Eren Yeager. If we can just kill him, everyone can be set free. Just something of that effect.
Well, in the trailer, he does talk about how the stolen power and so on and so forth. I think he's definitely going to frame the people of Paradise and Eren. And I think he's going to give like a whole spiel as to why they actually need help invading Paradise. But if I had to guess, I would say that he actually wants the power of the Founding Titan. He wants the power of what is on me? Is it a bug? Ugh. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think he wants power for himself, and his idea is that I'm assuming he knows what the power of the Founding Titan can do, what it's actually about, and that there's like if he had it for himself, that he'd be able to wield it. And he wants the rest of the world to help him go invade Paradise, so they're all kind of be on the same page long enough for him to take power, and rule the world.
But here's the thing: he's already in power. The power-hungry tyrants always want to like, oh yeah, it's for everybody else, it's good, but I keep the power. Just
Right.
You're a freaking trash bag, bro.
He is. Well, okay, yeah, I forgot to mention this. I was talking about this when we were watching the show. I think that Magath's, while we're talking about power grabs again here, is I think Magath's motivation is that he actually understands that Marley's in trouble and that they need to develop a real military.
Yeah.
And they need to have some skin in the game, not just go to war, but the fact that like the Titan powers, A, they've lost 2 of them, and B, they're just not as strong as they used to be.
Yep.
Like they just don't mean as much. They used to be like the only thing. Now
they relied on him. They relied on him too much.
Yeah,
and if
I
they
think
have to rely on their own ingenuity, they'll actually be better for it.
Yeah, I think he sees that, and I think in his mind, he's like, listen, we need to modernize and get with the times and like be a real military force like the rest of the world, fight with those kind of weapons. And so I think he kind of is like, in a way, not quite dismissive, but it's kind of like sees the fate of like the Titan powers and is like, we aren't going to need you guys pretty soon anyway.
Yeah.
Like I think he's kind of thinking the warrior unit thing and all that stuff. Like I think he's happy to send Zeke in to go do whatever the freak you want. Like go die out there for all we care. Like we basically buy us enough time to build a real military, which is kind of what that's what Zeke was suggesting anyways. I'll buy you enough time to build a real military anyway. Going
back to American history, this is a similar situation to like the South. Right, like in antebellum South, in like the height of slavery, you had all of these, and a lot of them. We're not going to paint everybody with a bad brush, but a lot of them were very poor, Irish or Scottish or Welsh or English people who came over from a specific part of Scotland, very low class, very poor, and they came down and they were able to buy slaves very cheaply, and they made this terrible sin. They made these slaves run the farms for them, basically. And they've proven that actually slavery, they fought so hard to keep it in the South because they thought that it would destroy the whole economy. But actually slavery was a crutch that stopped them from from developing much faster.
Yeah,
Any other part of the country.
The industrial North, that's kind of part of the tension, was the industrial North, which was where slavery was illegal. Like,
they grew leaps and bounds
massively
faster.
because they had industrial power behind them that was actually making real technological and economic advancements, while these other cultures were relying on oppressing people based on race.
But you had these hillbillies, like, oh, we're gonna make these people run the farm for us, and we don't. They were too lazy to like take initiative and go and work the farms themselves and go and learn how to innovate and actually take advantage of the land and the resources they had. They wanted to do what was easy. They wanted to do what was easy. And if that meant oppressing a race, didn't matter as long as it was easy, right?
Yeah.
And so, but they've proven like, A, it's terrible. B, it's not only bad for you, it's bad for the slaves. It's bad for you. It's bad for everybody in the area. You're not working the land right. You're not being what's the term? You're not like being a go-getter. You're not like helping society. You're not like
being innovative.
You're not being
just
innovative,
lazy.
and you're relying on the slave labor you have instead of actually going out and.
I see what you're saying. So Marley's been relying on the slave labor of the
Eldians.
Eldians for so long
that they actually
Which
have
is-
not.
they're crippled.
And they're happy to read in their newspaper about all these faraway wars and stuff while they live in the lap of luxury, not actually developing themselves.
Dude, how much you want to bet that that's essentially what the spying Paradise and Eren and the gang, that's essentially the information they have, is that like these people actually aren't ready for war. We would have a real chance of winning if we just
hit them right now.
Yeah, if we hit because they use these Eldians, but if we can turn these Eldians to even some of them be on our own side, to get a Reiner, get on somebody on our side, if we invade their homeland, they've got nothing. These people don't know how to fight. They sit in their, they live in the lap of luxury. Like, what do they know about war?
Well, they already have shown that they don't really have a defense against anti-Titan weapons by almost losing to the
Yeah, and their military, their
military.
navy was like getting jacked up because they didn't have very good ships because they didn't have to, like,
right.
Yeah.
The only reason that they didn't get defeated was because the Beast Titan did his baseball thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which Eren had a baseball mitt and a baseball next to him on the bench.
I know.
That was why. That's why I was like, oh.
I thought that too. Yeah, that was in the trailer. I remember the baseball specifically.
So essentially, Marley has become weak because they've relied on the work of others and not themselves. They haven't had to develop themselves, and you find that people, when they actually go after something, they believe in something, they work hard themselves, they go after it, they develop so much faster in every possible way because
So you're telling me the Paradise has been working really hard. They've
They
pulled themselves
have
up
been
by the
developing
bootstraps.
anti-Titan weapons for
I'm willing to
100
bet- yeah.
years.
I'm willing to bet you that's actually true.
we hope so, but
All
we'll
right.
see.
So the next scene is Kruger, as they call him, and he's thanking Falco, and he's saying, thank you for delivering all my letters to my family. And he goes, I really doubt that I can ever pass Gabby up. Like, I did beat her today. You can tell he's happy about that. And he's like, all I know what I can do is I can keep moving forward, which we remember is from the previous episode. Those are the words that Reiner had said to a young Eren, and that Eren had said to a young Falco.
Mm-hmm.
All you can do is keep moving forward.
But he says, you really inspired me, Mr. Kruger. Like, kind of like, that's why I was able to beat Gabby.
Yes.
You've
been motivating me.
You've got Reiner and you've got Eren secretly tutoring Falco.
Two of the best.
Dude,
he's going to be a good one. I got high hopes for Falco now.
Yeah, especially if they team up.
Oh, yeah.
Falco's for sure going to come with him.
For sure.
We'll see.
So he says, thanks for sending all my letters. And then he says this not so cryptic line to me. He says, when this festival is over, I'm going to go back to my hometown. Now, if you remember, all throughout season 1, Annie, Bertolt, Reiner, when this is over, we just want to go back to our hometown, which was code for we want to go back to
our country,
to Marley, where we're actually from, across the freaking ocean. And
which is actually an internment zone, their hometown. But anyway.
Nonetheless, Eren is talking about going back to Paradise. He's been on his own spying mission here for some time now, and he's going to go back to his hometown, which is Paradise, to translate some of this, whatever. He's going to transfer some of the information.
Like, hey, that's nice, because he looks at his baseball man and he goes, is that from your family? And I don't remember if Eren answers him or not.
Yeah, I know. He says, it's something. He's like, I can't play in this condition, but yeah, I have this. They sent it to me because it helps keep me distracted while I'm in here, basically.
Yeah, it's not much use right now. Like, it's not like he could really go for a jog,
Yeah, and so, the going back to the hometown, I don't know. I can't read too deeply into that. All I know is that if I had to predict it, like, I really do think that Eren knows about this festival. He knows about the Tybur. I think they know kind of everything. I think they know about the warrior recruits. I think they know which ones are good. Like, I'm willing to bet you they have a lot of good information.
Well, it's been 4 years. So hypothetically, they could have came over 2 years ago and have been spying for 2 years.
On this whole freaking time. I think that they know that they are now planning an invasion. I think there's a lot of information that Paradise is now privy to because they've been have really deep spies. Okay, so then an older gentleman comes over and is like, Falco has to run off. And he's, can I sit here? And he's like, yeah, you can sit here. And he's like, oh, I'm the, who are you? He's like, oh, I'm the Yeager. Yeager.
He says, hi, I'm Yeager. What's your name?
I'm Yeager, yeah. I'm the physician for this internment zone. I come over here to drink tea and to talk with people sometimes. He's like, oh, yeah, nice to meet you, whatever. And it's Eren. And all of us were like, Yeager, like the Mr. Yeager,
like his grandfather.
The Mr. Yeager that watched your kid get freaking... both your kid and his wife watch your daughter get eaten by dogs, said nothing about it. Then years later, watch your son who actually had some passion and some courage where you didn't. Watch your grandson turn your son in, and then just sort of like, oh yeah, like whatever, dude, and let him and his wife get freaking killed. Like, this guy's a bastard. Like, I was actually hoping that Eren was just gonna be like, so pissed when he heard that, he would just like transform right there and be like, F it, and just freaking squash that guy like the freaking roach that he is.
I wanted him to like pick him up and be like, Grisha was twice the man you ever were, and like just throw him like a baseball across the field.
It would have been delightful. Now
He
that I'm
doesn't do
mentioning
any of that though.
I just pulled an Eren, but you know who didn't pull an Eren in this scenario?
Eren didn't pull an Eren.
Guess who kept his
He's
cool?
He's very chill.
Yeah.
He's a very calm person.
Yeah.
Guess who kept his cool despite everything? So they get into this interesting conversation, and he's like, oh, I see you really get along with that boy. And he says, Falco's uncle used to be a restorationist, which we know to be true, right? Now, Falco, we know he's a Grice. That's his last name, Falco Grice.
But that's nuts because he just throws that information out here like no big deal. Like,
okay, we learn in 5 seconds that the dude is outside of his mind. He's not a doctor.
Yeah.
He's a
He
patient.
is,
That
but
should have been our first
he's also
clue.
kind of with it in this moment because he's like, he
oh
says,
yeah, that's why he's telling
he's
him.
trying
says-
to protect him.
He's trying to protect the boy. He says, he tells him, he's giving him context. He says, listen, here's my worry. My worry is that this boy, his uncle was a restorationist, and we know him to be Grice. Grice was the man that, if you remember from season 3, he was thrown over the wall. He actually wasn't turned into a Titan. He was thrown over the wall as Titan fodder. This is the strategy they use when they turn people into pure Titans, is they would take a group of them, take one of them and chuck him off the wall and say, run for your life, and then turn the rest of them into Titans, and then that way they would run towards the walls, away from the ocean. That was the idea. So he was a co-conspirator with Grisha and so on. So Dr. Yeager has all that context, and he knows the whole story, okay? Or doctor, I don't know if he's doctor anymore. He's out of his mind. But anyway, he says, listen, I want, basically when somebody gets caught, doing for that kind of thing, they kill them and they don't spare their families.
They send their whole family to paradise.
Yeah, they send their whole family to paradise. And so it sounds like what they mean is kind of like immediate family, like they're looking out for co-conspirators. So in order to kind of protect their own family, because he's a cousin, Falco here, a nephew, in order to protect their own family, Colt and Falco both volunteer to be Marleyan warriors to try and fight for them, so to kind of prove their thing. So what Yeager is trying to say to Eren is, listen, don't ruin it for him.
He
don't blow his
says,
cover.
Stop giving him letters. If there's any suspicion, everything that they've worked for will be ruined because of you.
So he's trying to protect the kid.
We can appreciate.
And then he gets into this conversation. He's like, listen, stop asking him favors. I don't want you to blow his cover. What I want you to do is, like, you're gonna just live your days out here. What I want you to do is don't live without regret. I don't want you to have this on your shoulders. And he's like, oh. And Eren asks him, he's like, well, do you have regret for your family? And he like,
about your family,
because Eren obviously knows. And again,
he knows who he is. I wonder if they've had the same conversation before, because if
he's insane, he doesn't know.
If he has Alzheimer's or something, or he's like got post-traumatic stress and Alzheimer's, maybe they've had this same conversation more than one time.
Yeah, he says, you should get out of here. You should go see your own family before they pass away.
Because Eren knows exactly how to trigger him.
You should go see your own family before they go away. Otherwise you'll walk with regret your whole life. And he's like, oh, regret, huh? Do you know something about regret? Do you have regret with your own family?
And he's like, oh, every day since I let my son go outside the wall with my daughter. And he has this flashback to a bunch of dogs. And we know that this is the Mr. Yeager who let young Grisha Yeager go out with his sister, and then they get caught, and Grisha volunteers to take the punishment, but he doesn't see he goes to take the punishment, but he doesn't see his sister on the way back home to the internment zone. And when he gets back home, it turns out his sister never arrives, and he knows that his sister was fed to the dogs for sport. And then when the Marleyan police come in and tell them what happened, like, oh yeah, she just went missing and happened.
She never made it home. Yeah.
They lie, and Grisha knows that they're lying, but Mr. Yeager's like, oh no, that's okay, and we're loyal, and blah, 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 and spits all their bullcrap back at him, and that's actually what inspires Grisha to become a restorationist.
His dad's a weakling.
Yeah.
He doesn't stand up and doesn't protect, So he said, oh yeah, as my son, I was too strict with him on becoming a doctor. I was too strict, and that's why everything went wrong. It's all my fault. It's all my fault. And he starts screaming, and we're like, oh, dang, doctor, you kind of cracking up.
You're losing
While
it.
They're having that conversation, you see like a nurse point through the window to a doctor at the bench, and I'm like, oh crap, has Eren been caught?
That's what I thought too. I thought that his cover's blown.
Is Yeager crazy? I wasn't sure which one it was going to be, and then Yeager goes,
this is an emotional
cuckoo for Cocoa
This
Puffs.
is a mental health facility.
Yeah,
he
starts screaming his head off.
Yeah,
and then the nurse is like, I'm so sorry. I only let my eyes off of him for a second.
So apparently he's done lost his marbles and he's wandering around as a mental health patient.
And you wonder, how deep does that regret go?
Yeah.
Does that regret go
deep enough?
So deep he regrets letting Zeke turn Grisha and Diana into the Marleyan police and not helping Grisha.
I don't know, dude. F this guy. Anyway, so the party scene. So the next scene it cuts over to is
the most intense waiters ever.
Yeah, all the young warrior recruits. Apparently they're waiters, and the people are pissed that they're even touching their plates. They're like, oh. Filthy blood is touching our plates. Not explaining why the food stinks. And they're
they're human garbage cans.
They'll have it up to like 11. The racism in this one, it's just like times 10. Like it's so bad. Anyway,
can I just say though that aside from that one little blip with Udo or whatever his name is, they were actually doing pretty good.
Oh yeah,
they were keeping everybody's glasses full. They were gathering up the dirty plates.
Yeah,
they were zipping around and making themselves like ghosts. That's what waiters are supposed to do.
Yeah. They were doing
refilling the
drink
drink
and they're
everything.
like with all the intensity one could hope for.
Yes.
So Udo spills some wine on this woman who looks Asian.
In a kimono.
And she's in a kimono, and he like apologizes, and then the party kind of stops and looking at him, and she kind of covers for him and is like, "Hush, don't worry about it."
Don't cause a scene.
Yeah. And so she picks the wine glass, the wine glass, and is like, "Oh no, I spilled on myself, silly me." And
she's like laughing.
And one of the kind of higher ups is like, "Come with me," like whatever. And the kids all realize like,
then Udo's like, "Why?" And she goes, "What would have happened to you?" And then as she walks,
who knows
away.
what they would have done to you.
So we actually see he's surprised that someone treats him like a human.
Yeah. Now, I know she's Asian, and if we have this correct, Mikasa is also an Asian, so there is like maybe Mikasa's not Eldian at all. The Ackermans theory.
That was also my theory. We talked about that.
Yeah,
the
they say
Ackermans
that
and the Asians are not Eldian, I don't think.
She's Hizuru, and we see another guy named Ogweno. So we see definitely people from foreign places.
Yeah, all
she
the
had an
cultures.
interesting emblem on the back of her kimono. I don't know if you guys noticed that when she was walking away, and I was like, "What is that?"
Yeah,
looked familiar to me for some reason, but I can't figure out why.
I didn't actually see it. I was taking a note, but I heard you say that, so I looked up right at the last minute. But this clearly, people from all over the world are coming together.
Not only they come together, they all know.
Willy has fancy friends.
They all know him. They all freaking know Lord Tybur. Like they grew up with him.
And they're like telling stories from their childhood. Remember when you got stuck up on that tree? And they're like laughing and stuff. They're very chummy.
Yeah, and we haven't seen a whole world map yet. All we've seen is like a piece of what the island of Paradise looks like on a map. That's all we've seen. So we don't know if, does this happen in our world, or is this like another world, or kind of like whatever
parallel type?
Are these people actually from Asia and Japan maybe and Africa, or are they just from wherever? Is Paradise like a specific place? Like, does it exist?
All I know is they actually in this episode they had the typical white folks we've seen. They've had some black folks. They had an Asian woman. They had some Middle
Eastern looking people. So, which the Middle Eastern Coalition or whatever.
Yeah, even if it is
seemed like maybe some of their muckety mucks were there.
Yeah, they were all present, right? They were present, even though because they signed a peace treaty. But I'm saying like, there's definitely he's throwing out the idea like this is a worldwide thing.
Yeah.
And if you remember season 1, Eren says, "I want to destroy the whole world."
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he's got that.
And Reiner's mom made that comment about
how one day
the founding titan might come with his colossal titans and flatten us all. And I was like, what the heck is she talking about?
Yeah, it sounds like a wives' tale, but maybe there's
in the same way the founding titan kind of expresses itself. The previous titans sort of express themselves in the future titan holders. I really think that's what the case is. I think Eren, since he possesses 2 of them and one of the most powerful ones, that inside of him is this weird desire that he wants to
destroy everything.
Actually wants I think he accidentally becomes the villain and they have to sacrifice him in the end.
Okay, but here's the question. Are some of the Titan powers good and some of them evil, or are they all evil? Because the attack Titan wants to fight for freedom.
True.
That seems like
a good point.
Objective good. So is he at war with himself? Is he going to have to kill
fight against his dark side?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe. Okay, well, anyway, back in the scene, in the dinner scene, some fatty dude's like, "Yo, hey, everybody, we beat you all, and now that we're, once enemies, now enemies. I mean now friends."
Okay, I was gonna say earlier, I feel like that's a foreshadow of what Willy Tybur's speech is gonna be about. That line right there.
We were
Yesterday's enemy is today's enemy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, absolutely.
the founding titan is yesterday's
enemy. I mean, the
and
the
now
Eldians
the
inside
founding
Paradise.
titan is still today's
Yeah.
enemy. I think
Agreed.
that's
This guy's like your drunk uncle at a wedding. You're like, dude, please no. And Willy like
stop.
graciously
He's like,
gets
they
up.
didn't
with
really
this.
get your joke. Let me take over.
Yeah,
and everyone's
he calls
like,
his whole speech a
"Yay!"
joke just so he can like chill the people and like good
They're
save.
pissed. They
Good
pan
save.
over to their faces and they're like,
They're deeply
they're
offended.
so mad.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you just lost a war and someone was rubbing in your faces, pretty awful stuff. So then Willy says, "Hey, listen, screw that everlasting peace toast. That's a funny joke to amuse our guests. Allow me to take over." And he kind of saves the situation with some class. And he says, "Listen, there's just been this terrible cycle. Things have happened. You know, first the
That's what you
Eldians
were talking
were
about earlier. The whole
persecuting people. Then the Marleyans, got the power. Now they're persecuting people. They fell into this terrible cycle.
I understand why all of you want to exterminate the Eldians,
Mm-hmm.
but
I would propose a single solution to solve this problem."
Ugh.
And you're like,
why does he have to use the word solution?
a final
A
solution?
final solution.
Is it an
exactly.
atomic bomb? Because
Oh, God.
jeez.
Yeah, I don't know.
There sure are a lot of bombs in the intro. I'm just saying.
There's
There really
some
is.
shades. So he says, "To the great playwrights, the witness of history."
Yeah, so he's
and then
going to give a
everyone's
play.
Like, yay.
He's going to announce his plan tomorrow through a theater production. Says no more. And
It's
that's
very
it.
clear that he is the secret king,
Yeah.
though, at this point, to
Oh,
me
for sure.
anyway.
Yeah.
So, all right, so then Gabby and then
Gabby's like asleep and she's drooling.
she wakes
all
up in
over
in a hurry and is like, a festival. And they've
She
brought an
hears
entire
drums like.
they've
Yeah.
brought an entire like carnival into an internment zone, which apparently is a new thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, these guys are freaking like slaves.
There's
and
like
all
slaves.
of a sudden they got
They've
like
never
a
had ice cream
party.
and pizza, and
There's, like,
they're
pitas
shoving
and-
ice cream in each other's
Okay,
faces.
that was actually one of my favorite parts when Falco was like, "Gabby, eat this!" And he like screams and shoves it in her face, and she's like, "This is delicious!"
They just go ham. That's the best thing ever to watch.
She's like screaming about how delicious it is.
Because since they've been kids, they've been oppressed, and everything's been about like warrior culture and like don't make any mistakes, and like finally it's the one time they have just to be kids.
Yeah,
and
they
I
don't
love
get
it.
this. They don't get this kind of luxury. It sounds like in the internment zone. That's why they're all surprised
Oh.
it's happening here.
The first time when I was a kid, I was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years old. We had a block party in Chicago, and the blocks back there are like huge. They're just massive, and so we shut the
actual block
street
party.
down. Yes, the street got shut down at a certain time, and booths and everything and vendors came in, and I remember like losing my mind and being like, "This is the best day ever!" And it
So
was
we got
just,
the corn, the Mexican corn
yeah.
thing.
Oh my gosh, it was so good, and the
Still good.
the cucumber with lime and
Yeah.
the spices. Oh, it was so good. So it was just an amazing time. All the community came together. It was really fun. So this is kind of the same thing happening for the Eldians and the internment zone, and they've never seen anything like this before. They've never just been able just to be kids and goof off and have fun and not think about how they're evil and devils and the impending doom.
Mm-hmm.
And you see like these stages where all of a sudden all 4 of them are like freaking out, and they see like this brand new cuisine, and you see kind of Zeke and Reiner and I think Galliard and
Pieck's
Pieck
there.
are all there.
They're all there because the thing is tonight. Remember, this is actually all according to Zeke's plan. Zeke said, "I want to use the Tybur family to help kind of turn the tides and help us, win, whatever."
Yeah.
I want
So-
them to be the nerd.
They have these like longing eyes looking at this cuisine, and you see like they're all kind of like, okay, give in. And in the background, you see Reiner, and he's paying for everybody to go eat, right? Then it's at the exact same scene somewhere else, and he's paying again, and he's paying it. And all 3 times they're eating like pizza, and they're eating this and
All
that.
the sweets and they
And
have stuff on
Reiner's
their
just
face.
paying for it all, and you see a little smile crack like in the stone, in the armor of Reiner, and like the chink in his armor is like he loves these kids and he
He's
wants to
I
actually
show
love
them
how
his
Gabby's all
compassion.
like laughing at the other kids that have like jam on their cheeks, and she's got the most jam on her cheeks, and then Reiner's laughing at her.
Yeah, I love it, and he's basically like dragging her
And
by
then
the
she's
ankle.
like
drunk.
drunk. She's like intoxicated, and she's like, "I can't walk."
Yeah, she's dragging her by the leg, and she's like so happy, and she's like, lately it seems like there's been so many new things that have been happening, and it seems like a lot of things are about to change.
You little prophet, you.
Foreshadowing.
Remember we were
Again.
talking about all the
And then
gunpowder being
Reiner's
brought in?
like, "Yeah, I feel that too."
Yeah, these are the kegs. This is another keg getting
But-
brought in.
He's not happy about that feeling. He's like, "Yeah, I feel that too."
I think he knows something's a brewing.
Everything's
does know.
about to burn.
If there was
this next episode, why do we gotta wait 2 weeks, dude?
if there was a minstrel in the back, he'd be playing Bob Dylan's "The Times They Are Changing."
Yeah, indeed.
So
All right, so it plays the credits.
well, first they ask,
What?
Is this right after the credits?
Right after the credits.
Okay, first they ask hey, what happened to Falco? He was supposed to be here and they're all at the amphitheater.
Yeah, it's Zeke, and he's got Colt there with him.
Zeke's like, oh, hey, you guys finally showed up.
Yeah.
What happened to Falco? Oh, he saw somebody new and he ran off. And he comes back and he says, Mr. Reiner, sir, can you come here?
I have something I want to show you.
And Reiner's like, right now? And Zeke's like, don't worry.
You have time.
It's definitely not my brother who I want to kill. It's definitely not that guy.
He says, don't worry, it's not going to start for a bit. But I'm so surprised he's like the chill dad of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, no, it's fun. Go ahead. Like,
go run off to some mysterious, undisclosed location during a big event with world leaders in an internment zone. None of this is suspicious.
Now, hear me. I think that is another indicator that the
pride comes before the fall.
People of Marley, the government, the warriors, all the top brass, they don't have a clue.
And they think
that
they're
paradise.
Safe.
They have thought they've been so focused on other things.
They've
thought
been
these
safe
are
for 100
crude,
years.
They thought that these are crude people with no
just
technology, with
around.
no boats, with no war, like modern war experience.
Yep.
Like these people don't know jack. I'm pretty sure that even Zeke is going to be shocked out of his mind to find out that they've been infiltrated.
They've been spying,
and that now Paradise may well have the upper hand on them in some significant
I'd like
way.
to propose an idea.
What?
That on this day, Marleyeans will be reminded
of the power of the founding titan.
Of the power of the Titans.
And the attack Titan.
Because they've lived in relative safety for 100 years.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Yeah.
You think they're going to kick in the walls, so to speak?
We saw this in the trailers that there's actual war breaking out in cities that look more modern. So we kind of figured that was happening.
You see in the poster, Gabby and Falco running, and there's flames all around them.
Yeah. And
in
so
the streets.
For sure, there's Titan battle that breaks out in Marley. We know that.
We don't know if it's just
when.
the next episode. It could be. It could not be. We think
know
it
the
is.
Warhammer Titan's going to show up.
But
too.
when it happens, they're going to be freaked out.
But you've got Falco, and he's like, "Hey, come here, Mr. Reiner. Come into this dark hallway." And Reiner's like, "In here?" He's like, "No, now come down these creepy steps
into this basement."
And I'm like, "Cask of Monticello, like,
basement.
We've got some creepy stuff going on. Oh, come in here. Take off my weapons and put my wallet. Okay, sure, yeah, come on down." And yeah, so he goes all the way down, and he opens the door. He's like, "Look what I look." He
and
came,
then you
he came.
hear, Reiner,
It's been 4 years.
4 years. Eren.
To be continued.
And then his eye shines.
In the preview.
Was it the preview?
It's in the preview.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So then,
yeah,
they show the
yeah,
preview.
yeah.
We don't have to get into that because we're going to get into it when we get there.
His eye shines
whatever,
in the preview.
Let's take a moment.
What? Oh, yeah, our non-spoiler spoiler section. I'm going to read some comments.
3,
My comments won't.
2, 1.
My shirt is very blue.
Indeed.
Okay.
So's mine.
I almost hit the camera every time.
You do, and it freaks me out every time too.
Okay, what do you got? Do we have any comments we need to read right now or
Like
respond to right now?
my
What's Steven
comments
say?
won't load past a certain point. I don't even know what anybody's saying anymore.
Steven just said he's better than you. I don't know.
He always says that kind of stuff, though. That's the problem. All right. So here's the thing.
Any emails to read?
While we're waiting, while we're reading up on the comments, I want to remind y'all, if you have not yet, and you've been listening to the series, even if you're just joining us now for season 4, it would mean the world to us if you are enjoying the show to go and leave a 5-star review on iTunes specifically, or on Spotify, or wherever you are listening to this podcast, or if you're on YouTube, of course. Hit us up in the comments section. Love to chat with you guys down in there. Obviously, we are anime onlys. If you have not caught on to that fact, so there's a lot of things we don't know, and I don't want to spoil it for other anime only. So let's keep our manga spoilers to a minimum. But yeah, seriously, go check us out on the review section. That would be very helpful. Help other people know about the show. Again, if you aren't with us live, you should be with us live. It's actually a great time. We have a pretty cool little crew that joins us on Sunday nights, and it's become one of my favorite little traditions. So come join us, facebook.com/beyondthebasementpodcast. Also find us on YouTube. Go subscribe if you haven't already. Again, extra random cool content that's getting put out there and all of these. And we have some more plans. Even more, greater, bigger, larger plans for content. What was I going to say? Okay, yeah. Future content plan, by the way. Obviously, we're going through all of season 4, but there's going to be a break in between. We will be going over the OVA episode stuff, or whatever, episode 0s from the various seasons, and we're going to go over the 2-part series it's actually not an Isayama written thing.
Oh.
But supposedly it's Levi's backstory. And so we're going to we're going to go over all of that stuff in the in-between. So if you've been wondering about that, we will get to it. It's just, we got other things, okay? We got the meat to chew on. We'll chew on we'll get to the appetizer stuff later, but right now we're focused on the main course. Anything you want to share from the Sims?
Did you want to look at those manga? Those
on the air? We're going to spoil ourselves on the air?
I don't know if it's a spoiler or not. We're checking in here. They're supposed to. There was 2 manga. I don't know what you're calling.
One of our
comics.
commenters, left a couple of links, and I don't think he said it didn't sound like spoilers. Like he's like, oh, I think they were the corresponding manga chapters to the episodes that we were referencing.
They provided like a little bit more context, but
which a bunch of people have
much
said.
more?
I actually really do want to get into the manga for that exact reason, just for those extra details.
Sometimes the book just provides a little bit more of like what the character's thinking and their motivation.
Yeah, in my head, I was like, okay, what I want to do is go rewatch the series in the overdub, which I've never done. But I don't know if I would get as much out of that as if I read the manga. So that's my plan. Why don't we do some predictions? I know we've already been doing that, but next episode,
is there going to be a big fight? Do we get Rock'em Sock'em Robots? Does Reiner join Eren? Or does the Warhammer try to break him up? Is there a fight? Does Reiner secretly work for Eren?
Now,
has Eren already made contact with somebody, with the Tybur family?
Perhaps. All I'm saying is I'm on a roll with my predictions so far this season. I've actually hit a few of them on the nose, including that Reiner would run into Eren in Paradise and that Eren would try and convert him. So I think that's what's going to happen. Eren's going to try and sway him to come and join their side. Why else would he be there? I'm not sure what else he would have to say.
I think
why else would he want to talk to Reiner secretly?
I think he has a lot of information. Steven, our friend, was telling us, about that scene where there's a long dark-haired figure that's sort of like spying on Reiner while he's like watching the kids, that in episode 2, where he's seeing the kids run off and he remembers like him being a kid and Annie and all them. I think Eren's been keeping tabs on everybody. I think they've got a whole spy network in there, so they know a lot of things.
Do you want to talk about the Kenny Annie thing again?
Yeah, hit us. Okay, yeah. We should, because we didn't put it in the last episode.
All right.
Do you want to hit it, or do you want me to try and explain Steven's theory?
Steven thought...
Our coworker.
Steven thought that there's no way Annie just easily got away from Kenny the Ripper.
Oh, for sure not.
That's his job. His job is to like catch people and whatever. But I was but it is Annie.
She says she can't go back. She's like, well, I can't go spying.
Well, she says she can't get any further now that she's run into him.
Yeah.
So she either has to befriend him or stay away from him.
So Steven thinks that maybe there's a lot more that happened there that we didn't see. He thinks that maybe they made some kind of a deal. And
I think so. Annie and him are cut from the same cloth.
And he thinks that Kenny tried to bring her in on his dream.
I think so.
And that's how she was able to get in and out of the interior so easily, was through Kenny. And I was like, dang. But did he know? Did she tell him anything?
I don't know.
That one kind of.
I don't know how much.
That's one of the ones where like the end is kind of broken off. Like it could go anywhere. Like yeah, that could be the case, but there's no evidence to support that. But it did seem like that was a really interesting theory, and it is true that Kenny is a very good at catching people. That's kind of his job.
Okay, sorry, I'm watching some of the trailer and stuff here. Again, I want to get to the part where we've seen most of this. Why won't you guys let me die in peace? I think that's Reiner.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eren obviously does some damage. This is where I think he's just doing damage. History Reborn. Okay, here it is. Here's the part. Hang on. I'm going to turn this up. I know we're doing this right in the middle of the show. We should have done this before, but
sorry, guys.
I'm going to turn this up. We're pretty sure this is Lord Tybur doing the narration here. That's Reiner, but this part. Dun, dun, dun.
He's breaking out of the basement.
How many lives have been robbed by founding titans? But in recent years, the pacifist ideology has been uprooted. And I think that's happening. And the founding titan has been stolen by someone on Paradise Island. And his name is Eren Yeager. Yeah. And so, to me, there's Lord Tybur. We got a glimpse of him. Remember we were watching this and we're like, thus here now I proclaim to the enemy forces of Paradise a declaration of war.
Yeah.
And I think that that's
the name of the next episode.
Yeah.
Is a declaration of war?
Yeah.
Okay, so this next episode almost for sure is that little speech. He declares war. He wants the entire world to join him to try and take over Paradise. But unfortunately for them, Paradise has been planning their own deal.
And war is upon you whether you like it or not.
Now, this makes me wonder, again, as long as we're in prediction mode here, this makes me wonder if in the this time that within the internment zones across the planet that there has been a planned uprising amongst the Eldians.
I've been wondering that myself a
generally.
little bit too, because I didn't until Udo said he was from abroad. I was like, oh wait,
The
there's
restorationists.
internment zones everywhere, and the whole world hates the Eldians. Maybe there's gonna be.
And what if they figure that out? What if the people of Paradise have figured that out and they're like, okay, well, we need to try and set our people free
all over the world, not just
Yeah,
within the walls.
it very well could be.
Because the Eldians are behind walls, not just on Paradise. They're behind walls everywhere they are.
Yeah, which is interesting. But that's
and
actually,
Reiner's
that's exactly
sick
right.
of walls. You know,
I think everybody's sick of walls.
Everybody's sick.
Wow, the final attack begins.
All right, well, we'll look for those things for next time.
All right.
Probably end the stream. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been super long. All right.
Has it been like 2 hours?
Thank you, guys. We love you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to shoot us an email with your own theories, questions, comments, concerns. And, yeah, we love y'all, especially those of you who have emailed us and aren't listening to the show. Seriously, it means a lot to us. All right. With that, we bid you adieu. Until next time, farewell and good night.
Hey guys, thanks again for watching and listening to our show, Beyond the Basement Podcast. If y'all are enjoying it, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or wherever else you listen to our show. Check out the description below for links to our awesome Attack on Titan merchandise. And join us live on Sunday nights on Facebook for all of Season 4. And some of our best content is on YouTube, including me, so go ahead and check that out. And lastly, if you guys have any questions or just want to chat with us, please email us at beyondthebasementpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you guys in the next video.